We paddled them for 4 or 5 days, sat in them, fished out of them, and we all got together and decided what we liked best of each of these boats, what worked, what didn't work. And what we hope we have done is come out with a boat that has some things that all of those boats have that work, but we've also added some things that we think add a lot to this platform, and that's what we call it. This thing doesn't come with this on it. This platform is meant for you to fix like you want. And fishermen really love doing that. There's a company called Yak Attack that makes all kinds of accessories to mount on these boats. And that's what people are doing. They're buying accessories from other manufacturers and mounting them on their boat. It used to be that fishing kayaks came with rod holders and things. And those things didn't work for everybody. Wherever we would put, a rod holder, that wouldn't be where everybody wanted. It worked for some, but not for everybody. So we decided to give you a platform that you could fish off of and fix up like you want. I kind of start in the bow and work toward the back. The first thing that I wanted a lot of people to like is these molded in carry handles. A lot of manufacturers, including us, have a rope up here or a soft handle, and what happens if you hang a hook in that, which happens a lot, it's hard to get way up here and get that hook out of that handle. And so you got to cut your line or pull over or whatever, get your buddy to come over and get it out. It's just a pain. So we wanted that kind of molded in. We did that on both ends. The back is molded in and this is molded in. The back also is molded with a flat place so you can put a rudder on this boat if you want to put a rudder on this boat. It's probably not necessary, but some people like rudders, so it is available to do that with. I'll talk about the hull part a little bit before I go all the way back. This hull is what we call a tri-hull. This is also new to us. Other manufacturers have some tri-hulls, but what you see in this is the middle is down and the edges are down, and there's a higher spot here in the middle. And so these three features here make this a tri-hull. Now, some manufacturers, this is a kind of a pontoon almost like thing. And what I didn't like about that was those pontoons hang up a lot on the rocks and the rivers. And it's harder to get that boat off of those rocks and rivers. So this doesn't hang up as bad. It kind of slides off of that. While I'm here, this is the dedicated transducer scupper hole there. It has scupper holes for water, but somebody said you didn't use the word scupper hole. But this is a dedicated transducer hole just for that transducer. And that's the same hole that is on the Trident Ultras that Ocean Kayak makes. We actually make those in Australia. But this actually allows for Hummingbird's side view transducers to fit into that area. So if you want to put a side view on there, you can do that on this boat. The 13, Predator 13, there's two boats. There's the MX, which stands for mixed water, and there's the regular Predator. The Predator has this sharp bow. It's a very good tracking boat, along with being stable. The MX, the mixed water boat, is a foot shorter. It's 12 feet instead of 13.2. And the nose of it is more rounded, kind of like our Drifter. Ocean Kayak used to make a kayak called the Drifter. It's kind of like that down here. And the reason for that is when you're in a river, a hull like this, if you ride up on a rock, it'll want to tilt you one way or the other and throw you out. Where if it's rounded in the front, it just kind of rides up on that rock instead of trying to tilt you one way or the other. And it also, the boat turns a little bit. This is a very good tracking boat. The MX is looser. when you're in the river, you want to be able to turn that boat a little quicker and eddy up in some of those river eddies. So that boat is a little bit looser than this boat. That boat is also a 1/2 inch wider than this boat. But for the most part, it's the same. It does not have the transducer hull. We think on the river, if you're going to use a transducer, you ought to mount it inside the hull and shoot through the hull, because it'll just get knocked off of rocks and things if it's mounted in there. And then there's a center hatch here that's the same rod pod hatch that we have on some of our Trident boats. You can actually put your rods in there if you're launching through the surf, and then once you get out, you can take your rods out of there. That hatch, this center hatch, is also not on the MX. That's kind of my preference. Not only was it starting, because we lost a foot, it was starting to get close to the sea, but I'm a fly fisherman. I didn't want anything. I wanted a clean deck inside of here so that I could lay my line in there when I'm casting. So I didn't want to hatch in there anyway, and they were like, man, that's a good idea. They didn't want to put, the hatch was starting to get too close to the sea. So we have here tip protectors. Some boats out there that have those. I have heard stories of some of the tip protectors that are out there is a fully covered plastic piece up here, and I know some guys that put their tips in there and then try to pull one of their rods out, and it hung on the other rod that was in there, so it snapped one of the tips off. So what we did is just kind of gave you a place to lay your rods in here, and these are kind of flappy here so that if something gets hooked on it, it'll come off of it pretty easy once you snap the rod off. Most of the ocean kayak boats have straps to hold down the hatch covers. The old towns have this click seal latch right here, a little thing right here that turns and locks that thing down. Again, we're trying to keep straps and things off if hooks get hung on, so we went with the Old Town's click seal hatch. You know, trying to give you the pros and cons, this hatch is a little bit smaller than some of the hatches that you have on some of the ocean boats. It's still big enough to get a pretty good size cooler in there, but it is a little bit smaller hatch than normal. Moving on back, this is probably one of the things that sets this boat apart from most of the boats out there on the market. In all of my years, I've seen people mount things to their boat, and once they got out there and started fishing, they realized they mounted it in the wrong place. And I forever tell people in the seminars that I do, don't mount anything. Just go out there when you first get it and go fishing, and watch where you're paddling, where you're using things, and make sure then that you mount things that's out of the way. And I've always said, make sure whatever boat you get has some deck space to mount things to. Well, what we've done now is we have these plates that are held on by 4 screws, each of the plates, and there's 2 in the back, 4 in the front. And these plates are held on by screws, and if you mount something in the wrong place, or you don't like what you mounted to it, you tore this plate up, you can get order another plate from them. But what you have not done is drilled a hole in your boat that you're all mad because it's in the wrong place, and now you got a hole in the boat. You have to stick some sealant in it, or stick a screw in it, or whatever. So now we've given you some plates to mount things to. Here again, this is a Yakutite mount rail. This thing just mount this slide track, these little screw balls, and this is a round rod holder that just slides in there and tightens down, and then you can adjust the rod holder over how you want to adjust it. So you can mount these to there. You can mount standard Scotty bases or whatever you want to mount to these plates, but now we're not drilling holes in our boat anymore. And we also, when you come up here and look at the boat, you'll notice that you can get a wrench under this plate from the inside. It's always best to bolt things down to your boat rather than using a rivet or a screw or something else. So with this, you can bolt things to this plate makes it a lot stronger. So you have plates there. Talked about the center here. Probably one of the features that everybody out here is talking about is these nice lawn chair seating that some of the manufacturers came up with. We jumped on the bandwagon. I have long not been a fan of those because this kind of seat gets you up higher off the kayak. That is what ocean kayak has always done. We did a few things differently than the other manufacturers. We think we have a better seat, a more comfortable seat. It's wider. It's got a lot of adjustment to it. But the biggest thing to us, and what we've done is, most of the other seats you have to actually pick up and sit either in the high position or pick it up and sit it down in the low position. And it's not easy to do if you're in the boat. You pretty much have to get out of the boat to do that. This boat, that's the low position. If you're standing up here with one hand, you can pick that up, put it in the high position, or you can get it completely out of your way. You can put a cooler right here. I got an Engel cooler in the back of my truck that I was given here. Stand on that thing and fish. This boat is so stable. And that rep said, if you can do that, I'll give you that Engel cooler. And that's the kind, if you don't know what an Engel is, it's like a Yeti cooler. You probably know those. It's a very high end, about a $200 or $300 cooler. So I came home with that cooler because you can put a cooler in this thing. You can stand on it if you have a little bit of stability, a little bit of being able to stand. It is not obviously as stable when you're standing way up there on top of that cooler as it is standing on the deck of this boat. But it shows you that this boat is a very, very stable boat. So you can flip the seat completely out of the way. Part of the reason for that is not just so that you can put a cooler right there, but in this boat or any other boat where the seat is there, this seat is designed to be in the balance point of the boat, so that it's kind of balanced from front to back when you're sitting down. When you stand up, now you've moved your whole balance to the front, so the nose wants to nose down a little bit. Sometimes it kind of throws the tracking off. With this seat, you can flip that out of the way and step back and be standing right in the balance point of that boat. So you're moving that back. This seat, aside from being wider, we rolled this back a little bit, and this back is not as high as some of the others. What I didn't like about the higher back on some of the others is you couldn't really get to anything back there. It was hard to turn around and reach over there. Now you can pretty much get to anything. I mean, depending on how long your arms are, but at least you can get to whatever you put close to the seat. But the others, you really couldn't even get anything back there. Now you can, or you can flip this up if you got a tackle box or something right there, and you can just stand up and reach over and grab that right there. This is your paddle holder right here. Just snap the paddle in there. This is your rod holder. You lay your rod in here, pull this bungee over and hold your rod while your tips go all the way up to here. So your rods are kind of laying down each side if you want to do it that way, or you can put rod holders on, whatever your preference is. We have on each side of this seat, there's a little plastic place right here. You can put your sunscreen, pliers, whatever else in these little pockets. Just a little extra there on each side. There's a paddle holder dimple here and here. When I first saw this boat, after they manufactured it and brought it to us, when you're sitting in this boat, this is where your paddle needs to be. That's too close to you. It's, your legs and your knees and everything. I'm like, that's useless. Why did we do that? Well, as soon as I flipped this seat back out of the way and stood right here, I realized, wow, that is there, because this is too far away to get to. So engineers continually thinking, continually moving things around. We thought about a whole lot of things on this. This boat also has higher sides on it here than some of the other boats with that kind of seat. But when we paddled some of the other boats, what we realized was you felt like you were sitting on top of that kayak instead of being in that kayak. With this boat, you feel like you're in the kayak with these higher sides. What it also does is this boat has a pretty large weight capacity, can carry a pretty good sized person. But in the past, I've always said if you're going to get a boat, you should get one that has about twice your weight capacity. Well, we can push that a little bit in this boat because of these higher sides. This boat and also the way it's designed has got some rocker to it. And this boat, if you put more weight in it, it does get lower in the water, but you still got a lot of high side here, you know, that you can deal with. And this boat also comes with, we developed, this is a plug for all of these scuppers. And it comes with one for each one of them. And it's a one-way valve. This lets water go out, but does not let water come in. All the other scupper plugs that are out there on the market, they stop water going either way. So if you have a plug in a hole, water comes over your valve, it's in the boat with you till you take that plug out. Not with this. This lets it out. Another part of that is in this boat, and when you look at it, you'll notice that the bottom of this boat has some texture, some what we call exo ridges in the bay, the bottom of it. And that does a couple things. One, it makes the boat not slippery when you're standing there trying to stand. And it also allows that water to kind of run in those grooves and run to the scuppers rather than you standing in a puddle of water all the time. Now, some people have said, well, does that hurt your feet? You know, I'm a country boy, it doesn't hurt my feet, but it may hurt some people's feet. You may have to use, most people that fish in these kayaks have on shoes anyway. If you're on a river, you're going to have shoes on wading in the river. So, I don't think that's a problem. I'd rather have the exo ridge and have some to keep my feet from slipping around and have to wear shoes if I have to. Moving on back, the deck is pretty much open from one end to the other. If you took this seat out, you know, it's open. There are a lot of manufacturers, including us, have always had something in this area that separated the tank well from the rest of the boat. And you say, well, why is that important? Well, it can be important to allow that water, you know, to run from one end to the other, or just to allow you to be able to slide things in and around in that boat, so that you're kind of clear all the way in that boat. There's a bar right here that kind of came in aftermarket. As good as we worked on engineering this boat, we realized that when we had this boat in, we put the seat in, it kind of wanted to pull these high walls in. So we had to put an aluminum bar in here to straighten that out. That turns out it's not a bad thing.
Probably helps loading it and unloading some too.
It can do that. Mine's actually bent because I got one of those Pro Staffer Deluxe straight off the thing, so they grabbed whatever they had at the time. I've had this boat for nearly a month now, and they're not even available for these guys just yet. So this is one of the first runs. So they sent me one with a bent bar to start off with. But anyway, we'll hope they don't come out with a bent bar from there. But it's just a little notch in there. But anyway, there are also mounts, different kinds of mounts that mount to round bars. So that just gives you another place that you can actually, mount things to. And it also, if you put your crate back here, a lot of people use a milk crate or a black pack, Yak Attack black pack. That keeps that in the rough water from sliding up, into your seat. So it really worked. It really worked out good to have that, but it still allows that to be up. And again, we have some mounting plates back here. we kind of left this place right here flat because for those that want those the old style rod holders,
The recessed.
gimbal, I guess they call them gimbal recessed rod holders, you can install those in there. That's the kind of rod holder you want. We have some bungees back here to bungee things down, and then of course all the way in the back we got that molded handle that you can also add the rudder to. One thing I want to point out that we really hadn't talked much about on our website or anything else, but we have seen with the torque and with Hobie has been real successful in having that pedal system and things. There's a lot of people that just don't want to paddle a boat. You know, they think it's just too hard to paddle. What we've done here, you can get a regular trolling motor mount that you would use for a canoe. I saw you guys have one in there. You can mount that in here, have that thing hanging out right here, and go to Bass Pro, whoever sells a regular trolling motor, an everyday trolling motor, and mount a trolling motor right to the side of that thing, and use a trolling motor if that's what you want to do instead of using a paddle. We also offer as an accessory what's called a stand-up bar. You mount it to these two plates here, and it comes up, and you can hold on to that bar if you feel like when you're standing up you need to lean against something or have something. Or if you get that trolling motor, put your extension on there, and you can hold on to that thing, and you can be just like riding a skiff down. Stand up riding. So, offer some stabilizing pontoons, and you can mount those to this as well. They stick off on the side. We had planned that early on, but this boat's turned out to be so stable. I can't. If you need a stabilizer from Scotty, I'm not sure you ought to be a kayak. I mean, this boat is really. As soon as I say this, one of us will get out here and the river will fall over it. But it really is a very, very stable boat. Like I said, I had a client last week, never fished out of a kayak before, and in 10 to 15 minutes he's standing up throwing a fly rod. So it's a very, very stable kayak. The paddle holder comes mounted on this side, or at least it did on mine, but there's two bolts over on the far side. I actually put some clips for I got one of those stakeout poles, and I mounted my clips for the stakeout pole on that side. So I got the paddle on this side, stakeout pole mounted on the other side. And the handles here are molded in. Again, nothing fabric that's going to hang a hook on or anything like that. The boat, we list the boat as weighing 73 pounds. It has always been our industry standard, and I think most manufacturers, that weight is the hull only. So it doesn't include that hatch, this hatch, the little piece right there, that seat. You know, it's just the hull only. This boat's probably closer, when you got a seat in it and all the other stuff on it, it's probably closer to 80 pounds with all of that stuff on it, if you leave it on there. The seat does come out. It's not real easy to get out. We don't want it real easy. We don't want it just to pop out on you. But
Especially if you're turbo.
It does have a strap here and a little buckle in the front of the seat that if you want to, we put that in there to make sure that, you know, if you lean back in that seat, it doesn't pop up. But this thing snaps in pretty hard in there, and it's pretty hard to pop out of there. You know, I haven't really had to use this. But if you give it a good hard pop to be able to move it, it's that easy to change the seat height. You don't have to pick that thing up and move it far from you and flip it out of your way. Of course, on the back of the seat, you put a pocket in there, and that's where I keep my gloves. The foot pegs in here, they're adjustable. They're kind of the same foot pegs we have for most of the kayaks now. It's a very good foot pedal. Me personally, there's a little thing here you hook your finger on, pull that thing and adjust it real easy. I I don't want that hanging on my fly line. I want to snap those things off. That's just my personal thing. Got covered pretty much everything. Anybody got any questions about the boat?